An encounter with negative entities, or dark beings. An LSD trip report by Gregory 1 from the actualize.org forum. A few weeks ago I had an intense encounter with negative entities, or dark beings. I encountered them in my 11th LSD trip and got some insights that I think might be worth sharing with you. I hope you'll enjoy. Before I share my experience, I would like to add that there is a higher reality that encompasses everything that could ever exist. I am God, and as God, I have created everything, including all aliens that could ever influence me. Someone who wants to live in truth must understand the following. As God, you have responsibility for all experiences, including painful and traumatizing ones. You have to take full ownership of all of them. Now to my experience. Before I explain what happened to me, let me say the following. The experience I had seemed to be as real, if not realer than ordinary physical reality. Therefore, my conclusion is that this psychic attack I experienced could be shared by other humans and is as real as what we refer to as physical reality. I had my 11th LSD experience at around 300 micrograms. Usually LSD experiences for me come with great clarity. If the dose would be high enough, I would always realise my oneness with everything. Realise that I am God and that God is love. I would in great clarity understand the purpose of existence and of life. I never had any visual hallucinations, never had any disturbances, and never had any physical uncomforts or pain. This time, everything was different. I was on the edge, 1 second away from God realization, when I experienced strange words moving through my consciousness. I heard words that I did not know existed, that I have never heard. It felt like foreign voices were in my head, distracting me from realizing that I was God. It felt like somebody, or some entity, was trying to manipulate my state of consciousness. I never heard any words or anything weird before when I took LSD. It seemed to me that God realization corresponds to a certain frequency of consciousness. Another frequency was interfering with my usual frequency, which was keeping me away from coming to a God frequency. I was in a state of utter confusion because my consciousness was being manipulated. It felt like I was physically being attacked, but on a consciousness level. I fought it and it realised that if I use my willpower I can still realise God. I tried to use my will, but something really frightening happened. The dark entities that tried to manipulate my consciousness were creating pain. Intense pain. Physical pain. The more truthful I became, the more transparent to God, the closer I came to seeing the truth, the more pain they would induce into my body. At a sudden point, the pain got so strong that I felt like I couldn't take it anymore. It felt like if I wouldn't stop it now, I would literally, physically die. The dark beings had shared a message with me. It was clear. They said,
"Live your life as a human being and stop looking for truth or for God, and you won't get in trouble. If you continue searching for God, life will get really, really difficult for you. We will manipulate everything in order to torture you and make you feel pain. On the other hand, if you give up, we will help you to live your ordinary life, manipulate some humans in order for you to have it easy, and you will be able to live a comfortable life, have a nice woman and a nice family. No need to worry about money, etc."
I wanted God. I wanted truth. I was strong. I said no to them. I fought back. The pain got unbearable. They took control over my body, and my body fell to the ground and twisted and curled up in pain. I gave up. I stopped looking for God and started trying to obey the alien's will. Immediately the pain stopped. I said to the aliens, "I give up. I'll never do psychedelics again. I'll live my human life and stop asking questions. But one thing I will remember. I'll remember how weak I was. I will remember that I was weak, that I gave up, that I wasn't willing to die and to suffer for truth. I will never be arrogant again, and always try to see God in the faces of all other people in my life. Always try to see the best in them." After the trip, I realised that I made a mistake. These aliens or negative entities can only present you with illusions. The illusion they presented me with was that I could physically die. They did this by causing my body pain. However, death is impossible, since I am God. The aliens manipulated me with illusions, and I believed their illusions. Therefore, I used my own free will to serve evil, which I shouldn't have done. I should have surrendered to the pain and died, and in dying I would have realised that death is impossible, and that I am God creating myself, including the aliens. However, I gave up, and therefore didn't fully utilise this trip. What I know now is that there are negative beings or dark entities that only care for power or controlling other beings. They do so because they are detached from love and from God, and therefore their greatest fear is that other beings could realise love, could realise the holy truth of all of existence, namely the sentence, "I am God." These beings would do all in their power to stop people from realising that I am God, because once you realise that, you become all-powerful, and these beings will lose all their power. I'm sure that these negative entities were indeed aliens. I did not see them in form of physical bodies, but I felt their power and their manipulation of my consciousness. They do exist in the same way that the walls of my house exist, as part of God, as part of physical reality, and as part of consciousness. However, nothing in this existence, including consciousness manipulating aliens, can have powers over you, since you are God, the creator of even the consciousness manipulating aliens. To truly understand what it means to be God, God has to forget that he is God, and has to believe that death is a real thing, and then be willing to physically die for his highest truth. This is the reason why God even creates such awful and evil creatures. They give him the opportunity to experientially understand what it truly means to be God, and what it truly means to be good. True goodness is if you are willing to physically die and suffer just for goodness' sake. Next time I encounter aliens, I hope I will be strong enough to keep saying "I love you" to them. If I say it long enough until I physically die, the aliens will cease to exist, and all that remains will be God or infinite love.